If you guys want to meet me in MINEFAIRE and have not gotten tickets yet, then you have less than a week to do so. However, I do have a 30% discount code that you guys can use. It will be shown on screen, or you can find it down in the description. What's up, agents? Zero here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can use command blocks in order to make yourself a blinking statue of either yourself or pretty much any Minecraft character in general. Now, before I go ahead and get started, technically speaking, this is not my personal creative testing world. This is actually a creative realm run by someone by the name of Callum, otherwise known as Beta MCP1 over on Twitter, who posts various different things regarding Minecraft news and stuff like that. So it's actually a pretty interesting guy. I have, well, not met him in real life, but I have met him via like Discord chats and things like that. Hopefully that makes some amount of sense. He's actually a pretty interesting guy. And so yeah, this creative realm, and he also does have a survival realm, which I'm not going to be focusing on this video. These are run by him, and as you can tell, people have actually built a few different statues, which is why I'm using this world in particular to do this tutorial. But yeah, as you can tell, I've got a statue of myself right here that I built just recently, and as you can tell, it blinks every few seconds, which is actually not too bad. If I go ahead and fly all the way over here, we have the same thing going on here with Callum himself. As you can tell, there's a little bit more detail to Callum this time. He actually has pupils, irises, and eyebrows. So effectively, it's got a little bit extra detail in the animation, but regardless, it's using the exact same mechanic. So as far as command blocks are concerned, as I did say, it's obviously using command blocks. The amount of command blocks you're going to need will depend on how much detail you're going into, not only the animation that you're building, but also the amount of details that you have on the eyes. So for example, with me over there, I only need 3 command blocks because of how simple my eyes actually are. Callum here, on the other hand, because of the amount of detail, required 7 command blocks. So take this how you will. Your amount of command blocks will vary depending on what you're trying to accomplish, but regardless, you should be able to achieve pretty much the exact same thing with this video. Hopefully, if you follow this tutorial correctly. I imagine you guys probably won't get this incorrect unless you actually try to. But regardless, I'm actually going to be doing this using this right here. This, I believe, is Guy the Guardian, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty much everyone on the realm does change their skins on a regular basis or semi-regular basis. So, I don't know if that's actually him. I do know him by his name and his voice, but yeah, apologies if I actually got that wrong, but that's not the point. Also, he does have this on the front of his face, which I moved out of the way for the sake of this video, but that's obviously not important. But yeah, so I'm going to be using this as my example, and I actually have everything already technically set up. This is the example that I'm going to be using, and this is the circuit that I'm going to use in order to make this work automatically, which I'm going to go ahead and turn on real briefly. And this I actually have set up to blink, excuse me, incredibly fast compared to that of Callum and myself all the way over there. Kind of hard to see because of the fog. But yeah, as you can tell, blinking rather rapidly, but effectively the exact same thing that you're seeing from the other examples. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how this is actually pulled off. This is actually using the fill command. Technically speaking, you could use the set block command if you really want to, but that would increase the amount of command blocks that you end up needing, which is why I'm using fill. So here's the technique that I'm going to be using for this, and this will work for every single command block you're going to run. So if I go ahead and go into here, and yeah, I did actually have some commands I was trying to run earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and run /fill. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the space. And if you take a look, I already have some options on screen right now above the command that I'm trying to fill out. You can see the little squiggly line, which is technically called a tilde. That's in regards to your relative position. And we also have a -15, which is obviously a coordinate. The -15 is actually what we're going to end up using. And the reason why that's appearing is because that's the coordinate of the block we are actually looking at right now. This works on both Java and Bedrock Edition, which obviously I am on Bedrock Edition. So this will work regardless of which version of the game you're playing. But what I'm actually going to do, you could fill this out manually if you really wanted to, but if you happen to use a keyboard like I do, or a controller like I do, I should say, or you have mouse and keyboard, you can just kind of auto-fill this in. If you're on touch controls, well, unfortunately, I don't really know of an easy way to go ahead and do this for you guys. But yeah, we already have our first coordinate set in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a space, and I'm going to run this. And obviously it isn't going to work, but that's only because we have half of the command run already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this a second time. So I can just go and pull this up. And so we already have a different coordinate in order to run. So I'm going to go ahead and put all this in. And so if I go ahead and do this, so now we actually have both sets of coordinates that we need to go ahead and run. So now we can actually go ahead and put in what type of block that we actually want to go ahead and use. And before I go any further, this is where things are going to get slightly tricky. Obviously, if you're using specific blocks, you know what blocks you're going to be using. But that's not the end of the story, because you are actually going to need some form of data value for the blocks that you're going to be running. So I'm actually using stained hardened clay. If I can actually type this in correctly. So if I go ahead and do this, this is enough to get me to stained hardened clay. So this actually needs a data value of 0, at least in my example. If you're going to be doing this yourself, then you're going to be using a different block potentially and a different data value. And obviously your coordinates are going to be different as well. But if I go ahead and run this right now, as you can tell, he has absolutely no eyes at this point. So say, for example, I did a data value of 1 this time. So now, as you can tell, we actually have a different color. So this is actually how you're going to be pulling it off. And technically speaking, I could give you guys a list of all the different data values, but there's way too many blocks in the game to pull it off. So I'm going to ignore that for right now. So even though it may be tedious, I actually recommend you guys do a lot of experimenting in order to pull this off for yourself. But I already have this set up, as I said. It's using fill over and over again, just with different blocks and different coordinates. So really what I just showed you is really everything that you need to go ahead and know to pull this off. So here's how I went ahead and did this. So this first command block is going to end up completely closing the eyes themselves. If you have a lot more detail to your statue, you may need more than one command block to pull this off. Like, for example, Callum all the way up here. I'm using 2 command blocks in order to move. Actually, I think I might be using 3 command blocks, I'm thinking about, in order to actually get the eyebrows to move down. So take that how you will. But this first command block, closing the eyes. The second command block is starting the reopening of the eyes process. But if we go down here, this actually has a delay of 2 ticks. You can increase this if you really want to, but this is, at least from my experimentation, the minimum delay in ticks that you want in order to actually make this look good. Now, for the rest of the command blocks, you really don't need to change the delay in ticks, so that's really not important. But just for the sake of making these things go a little bit easier, I do have this one in particular delayed so that I can show this off a little bit easier on camera. But regardless, you guys will get my point. So if I go ahead and look up, so yeah. So obviously that didn't look too good because I had a completely different set of blocks up there already. But yeah, as you can tell, it decided to go ahead and blink because of the commands. So it's actually not too bad, all things considered. And let's go ahead and move back over here. And it's obviously doing the exact same thing. Obviously, in this particular case, it's blinking incredibly fast, but it's still run off of this clock right here. So you guys obviously get the point that I'm trying to get across with this. Hopefully you do. But other than that, that's literally all there is to this tutorial. So what I'm going to do real briefly before I actually do end things off is I'm going to go ahead and break into this so that I can go ahead and show you guys. Oh, it's actually not inside of this one. I completely forgot. I have it set out here. But I'll go ahead and show you guys real briefly inside of Callum and myself as well so that you guys can get an idea. Yeah, there's a lot of command blocks down here. As I said, there's 7 down in here. But you guys should hopefully get the point. Let's go ahead and fly back over to myself. And as I said, there's only 3 command blocks in here to pull mine off. But yeah, you guys, I imagine, get what I'm trying to get across with this tutorial. So let's go down here. Yeah, only a few command blocks down here. So yeah. But regardless, this is actually literally all there is to this particular tutorial. As you saw, really simple. Just simply replicating the fill command over and over again. So yeah. So one thing I would technically recommend when doing this is that you get your first set of coordinates, run it, and then copy it so you can paste it inside the command blocks and just simply make whatever edits you feel necessary. That will just hopefully make things go a little bit faster. If you guys decide you want to go ahead and do it a different way, that's perfectly up to you. But yeah, other than that, this is actually where I'm going to go ahead and end off this video. Mainly really simple, but also has a little bit of extra detail to this sort of thing. Even though, technically speaking, like I said, it's command blocks. You won't be able to do this in survival. But yeah, this is actually where I'm going to end things off. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure that like button. But more than make sure that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This has been Zero Stews. Thank you guys for watching. And with that, I'll see you guys later.